Okay, hey guys, welcome to tonight's interview with Amanda. I am super excited to be talking with her and sharing her experience with you guys because Amanda kind of encountered some challenges and some obstacles along the way, and I feel like her story is very relatable to a lot of you women out there. So the Hansen Method, if you guys aren't familiar with that, it is a 3-month-long program. It's set up for like a group system. We work with you guys a little bit one-on-one, but we have our own methodology that has worked and helped a lot of women get their thyroid and get those energy levels back so that they can stop sleeping their way through life. So, Amanda, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I am a busy mom of 3 kids that are all sports and keeps me very busy. I also run a ministry at our church, a Mother's Day Out ministry that I am full-time. So I work 40 hours plus a week on top of everything else. And so yeah, to say that my life is busy is an understatement.
Yeah, 3 kids and a ministry and working and
and
I know
because I, still have that duty too.
yes, a wife, a mom, and your kids are active in sports and different activities. So would you feel comfortable telling us where were you before starting the Hansen Method? And one of the things we didn't talk about, but you can be very open with everybody about the challenges that you faced and things like that. So tell everybody just briefly, where were you before? What symptoms were you having? What kind of pushed you into looking at the program?
So about, I'm going to say almost 5 years ago, I had just started. I'd always struggled with a little bit of fatigue for a long time, but nothing like the fatigue that I had started feeling. It was just way different. It was where I was dragging concrete. I felt like I could sleep all day. I felt like I never could get enough rest. It didn't matter what I did. And I thought for a long time, maybe it was just the kids because, my little one was little and, just keeping up with kids. But I just knew that there was something off. And so I had started going to the, the doctor, and I just had her run some blood work because I knew that, being that tired was something was wrong. So I had done that and everything came back fine then. Well, a couple of months later, I had started to experience a vertigo where it was, my whole world was spinning. It would keep me in bed. I couldn't get up. I would be violently puking. It was awful. And so on top of that, I would just have headaches all the time and all of that. So I knew that it was frustrating. So I had her do MRI. So I went back, it was months later, and I'm like, can you just rerun more panels? I don't know what it is that you need to run, but extensive panels, because I know that something's off. And run an MRI or a CAT scan on my brain. Maybe I have a tumor. I have no idea. So we did all those things, and my MRI came back fine. I had a brain, and that my blood work was normal. There wasn't anything off except for I was low in vitamin D, but she said that wouldn't cause, all the things that I would experience, some of the fatigue, but, here, take some vitamin D. And then she said, well, maybe you're just depressed, and here's a pill for that. And I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm happy. I'm depressed because I can't figure out what's wrong, but a pill's not going to fix that. So I just went, and I just kind of went through life, with struggling with it, but I had to keep moving. I had to keep on for my family, and all while, when you just don't feel good, you just you're not yourself. And I just wasn't enjoying things that I had enjoyed before. Like my ministry it wasn't struggling, but I was struggling with the joy in it because I just wasn't feeling good, and my kids, and it was just hard. Like I wouldn't say I was at a low place, but just really struggling with finding answers and help. And I had gone to another doctor, and because I wasn't satisfied with what she had to say. And he did a lot more tests, but still, I mean, my tests were fine. I was off on some levels of certain things, but nothing that gave me answers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let me just quickly ask you, how is the fatigue and the vertigo, how is that impacting your everyday life?
Oh, it was awful. I mean, my kids would even say, Mom, like, I want you to come to our soccer game. And I'm like, I can't go because I'm stuck in the bed, or I can't move. If I move my head this way, like, it was just awful. I mean, so it started for my kids to even notice it and say, like, it would start to affect that. Like, and I think that's where it really rocked my world. I wasn't able to be the mom that they wanted me to be, and want me to attend and be there for all the things. And sorry, I'm going to get emotional, but right. I couldn't be there because I just didn't feel good. Like I couldn't get up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was awful.
Which is a big deal, right? Because I know for myself, like my kids, my family is my number one. And so anytime I have to miss out, like even if it's just going to a friend's house and like swimming and I've got to work, I'm like, oh, like I want to go swimming. Like I know that wasn't a part of the original plan, and and I made these other commitments, but I like my husband and I call it like choosing our hard, right? Like I chose to work, I chose to have this business, and I chose to help women like you, but it's still hard to miss out on like even those small things and even those bigger things, right? There's soccer games and everything is emotional. It's very difficult. So how long were these symptoms going on for you?
So vertigo would come and it would go. Like it would just all of a sudden it would just come on, and I didn't know like what was causing it. So a year after that, after I had gone to the doctor and we did all the things, I ended up going to an ear, nose, throat doctor because I'm like, obviously it's in my inner ear. I'm just going to go figure it out myself. So I'd gone to him and he had mentioned, oh, you have severe allergies. I'm like, no, I don't. Like I breathe just fine. And he was like, no, it's deeper than that. Let's get you tested on, let's test your allergies. Well, I had no food allergies, and I had environmental, like dust and mold and dirt and trees. I'm like, oh, okay, all the things that I live in, great. So what do you want me to do about that? And he had this regimen, I guess, to take a shot, but I opted out of that. And I was like, well, I'll just take an allergy medicine, every day. And so that's what I had done for 3.5 years. I had just taken allergy medicine every day, and it kept it at bay. Like it just felt like, I would feel fuzzy and lightheaded, but it was not vertigo. So I was like, I'll take it, it was better than the alternative. And so it was for me to be able to function, to get out of the bed and such. So that's what I did for 3.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's such a great point. And I hope people realize that sometimes we do things to be able to just function, right? Like sometimes we'll just take a 30-minute, an hour nap just to be able to make dinner for our family, or we'll take a medication and still feel off just to be able to go to kids' soccer games or, run your ministry or whatever it is. So thank you for sharing that. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask you is what made you decide to look at the Hansen Method?
Well, so I have, I'm always reading, always researching. And so the Hansen Method had just popped up. It had come up in a news feed of mine on Facebook, actually. And so I just clicked on it and I listened to your testimony or a story, maybe something like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to talk to her. I need to know more about what this is. Like maybe it is my thyroid, because I had kept saying like it was my hormones. Like I feel weird at certain times of the month. And so like, it was like my symptoms would amplify at certain times. And my doctor would just be like, oh, I don't think so, but I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like I get it, my body, I know. And so anyways, just listening to something that you had said resonated, and I contacted you, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I know there was some challenges, right? In the beginning, we started and then we had to stop and started again. So do you want to speak into a little bit about what that looked like for you?
Yeah. So I think that, when I started and I had contacted her, I'm a person that will dive right in. Like my whole body head first. And if I sink, but I was ready to do it. My husband, on the other hand, is my life jacket that keeps me from sinking. And it wasn't that he was against it, but he just brought up all the what ifs. Like, what if this isn't real? What if, this lady's trying to get your money? What if, you pay all this money and it doesn't work for you?
Yeah.
And so, and then at the time, like it was also COVID just happened. I was not working anymore. And we didn't know what was going to happen with my husband's job. I mean, he works for the government, so we were pretty sure it was fine, but who knew?
Right. Yeah. Who knows with COVID?
Yeah. And so my husband's like, Amanda, I just don't think that this is the best time. And so, I mean, I didn't want to stress him out anymore, but I just still was like, I know that this is it. And so I still kind of talk to Shannon here and there and would like pick her ear about certain things and would just try things that she would say. But we stopped doing it for several months.
Yeah.
Working with each other, but
yeah. And so what made you decide to come back and look at it again?
So the last doctor that I had been going to, he had done all that extensive stuff, and some of the tests had taken a while to come back, and he had finally written up this email saying all the things, like a protocol, I guess, of what he would want me to do. And it was a extensive list of supplements. Like, let's just try this. And when I started adding them up, it was like $300 and something per month. And it wasn't, I know that this is what it is. Let's do this and it's going to help you. It was let's just try. And I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I am not going to spend hundreds of dollars on supplements, and we don't even know if that's going to work. And so I just laid my foot down. I'm like, Kevin, I'm reaching out to her, and you're going to be okay with that. And I said his name. I don't think he cares, but anyhow. And so he is very supportive. He has always been supportive of the decisions, especially when it comes to my health. But it was just financially, but it's like I told him, I believe that it is going to help. And financially, short term, yes, it might hurt, but long term, the gain, there's no limit to that. And so, and I think, when he saw too that it was going to be hundreds of dollars and not know if it worked, then why not try it? And so.
Yeah. And I remember that, like, next conversation we had right before you like decided to like really join. Not that you weren't committed before, but you know, there was things in there. You were still like very scared.
What if it doesn't work? What if I'm the one that it doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I remember that. Okay, so tell everybody, when you came into the program and you started looking at the program, the layout, the structure, what were some of the thoughts that you had?
Really?
Yes, I want you to be very honest here. I don't want anything to be sugar-coated as long as you're comfortable sharing with it, sharing about that.
At first, it was, so there's a lot of information in my brain for a person like me. I get very overloaded with information. And so at first it was like, what do I need to do? And where does it start? And then it was like, well, hold on, I got to dig back way previous, like years, like even before I was born. Like, and so it was a lot of things where I was just like, I don't understand like how this is going to help me. But I'm ready. Like I am full on board. Let's do this. And so it was that. And then on top of that, like I had felt for many years, like I was doing all the right things. Like I was eating the right things. I felt like my diet was, I couldn't get any better than how I was eating. And so I think that was the frustrating part. And I knew that that's a struggle for a lot of women, but it's like I kept sitting there week after week of like, this isn't where I'm at, you know, like I don't know, you know? And so, but I was still willing, like, we're going to keep going through it. Maybe that I'll have a breakthrough for, you know, something that is going to help me.
Yeah.
And I did.
And what changed?
Well,
or did it change?
It did. Oh my gosh, it has. Do you want me to go there first?
Wherever you want to go.
Okay. Yep. So there was a part of her program that was not, when I had started, she was not doing the hair analysis yet. Perhaps, no, you weren't doing it.
No.
And so at that beginning of, I don't know, a couple of weeks, she was able to introduce the hair analysis in a broader spectrum. Like, I don't know, what am I saying? Not locally, but.
Yeah, so when I was originally doing them, I thought I could only do them locally. And we tested out with some people locally being able to ship it to me and making sure that we still got the right results and everything, and it was working. And so that's when I was like, I know this information is invaluable to people, and that's when I was like, we're doing it for everybody. So, yep.
So I got to do a hair analysis and I sent it in to her, and what came back was very, very interesting. And I don't know, it's amazing though too, how those kinds of things are out there to help better figure out the root cause of it. I don't know, like it blew my mind. So we did the hair analysis and it came back that I was a unicorn. That's what Shannon called me, which I've heard that before. And so my husband tells me that all the time. And so like it did show that all my minerals were fine, all my vitamins were fine. So she's like, you're eating all the right things. I'm like, that's what I've been trying to tell you.
Yep.
But you have a really high exposure to mold. And I was like, I'm sorry, what does that mean? And so she had asked for me to go and check, you know, do you have any mold in your bathroom or your kitchen? And I'm like, not that I know of, not that I see. And she said, well, what about your window seals? And I'm like, that's interesting. I think I do. have that.
Yeah.
And so my husband, we checked it all out. He got some stuff and cleaned it. We're now ordering new windows, FYI. And so but it wasn't, she said, there's more, like there's not, that couldn't be all of it. What about, where do you work? And I was like, oh, well, the building our church building, it's a little bit older. I'm pretty certain that it does, but I don't know for sure. And so what was crazy is after that phone call that we had, I hung up and I just started putting pieces together of this puzzle. And I'm like, I started working. I mean, I've been going to our church for a long time, but I've started working in the building that I'm currently in and had been in for 4 years. Well, 4.5 years ago, about that, I started developing all these crazy symptoms of vertigo and massive headaches all the time. And I was like, this can't be, like, I cannot believe that this is what it could be, Yeah. And so we just started, working on that. Like, yes, it has a lot to do with our food and diet and what we put into our bodies, because I mean, before that, like I said, ate like what I thought fairly healthy, but there were certain things in there that I was eating that my body didn't want to have either. Like, there were food restrictions that I needed to stay away from that I would have never, I mean, I didn't eat a lot of them, but like carrots and barley and like pistachios, there were certain things in there I was like, I eat that. But what was really funny too is she said, check your supplements.
Yeah.
My supplements were full of those things. And I had no idea about that. And so it was like really cool to watch when I started figuring out these things and I got off all of my supplements, except I was still taking
was it a B vitamin?
That came later.
Oh, okay.
I was taking my allergy medicine. Like, just that was religious. I wasn't getting off of that. And so, but no, and then I had been out of the church building. And so it was like wondering if my body was going to start, detoxing itself and not being around that environment. And I don't know, like, so it was really cool to figure that part of it out, and being able to find something in a regimen to help with that, like to detox my body, doing the liver cleanse, castor oil packs, and, moving it up to almost every day. And it's just doing things that were going to help me specifically, not a general picture that everybody has, but geared toward just me and what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool.
Good. So, and I love that you pointed out, so we do have a general program, right? And there's things that everybody needs to be doing, but you were doing a lot of those things already.
Right.
Right? You were eating healthy, you were taking care of your body, you were sleeping, and there was a few gaps. And the testing that you were doing with your doctors, it wasn't showing what was wrong, right? Like, so you were still bumping up into this wall, right? I always call it like a wall. We're bumping up into this wall and not having those answers, which is important for people to realize. Yes, we have a general program, but we like to work with people individually, because what's going on with Amanda may not be what's going on for, whoever else, right? So tell us, where are you now? What's changed for you?
Well, I feel like my old self. Like I do feel so much better. And so it's not to say that that there aren't days that I still have nausea and dizziness, but it is by far better. Like I don't have headaches anymore. I haven't had a headache in 2 months. I was taking ibuprofen like candy. But I don't take any, like I haven't had to. The vertigo, knock on wood, I have not had that in months. And so I feel like I've gotten my life back.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And and I want people to know we're still in the process of getting this out of your body.
Yeah.
Right. And I can tell that this is very emotional for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So one last question, and then I'm going to just see, I don't know if anybody live has any questions for Amanda. And we didn't talk about that, but if they have a couple questions for you, are you okay answering those? Okay, cool. So I have one more question. What would you tell someone if they were thinking about or considering, working with us?
Oh, do it. Don't even question it. Like I'm telling you, like it has been, so it's not just physically, but emotionally. I mean, it's like you cover all the bases, physical, emotional, I'm going to say spiritual. And so,
Yeah.
and don't hesitate. Just, if you have just a thing like that's keeping you from doing it, I wouldn't hesitate to do it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amanda. I'm going to just double check and see if there was any quick questions. If you guys are watching the replay and you have a question for Amanda, drop it in the comments below and we can have her, answer that. Hold on. Okay. So we've got a couple things. What is your biggest Chris asked, what was your biggest struggle and what was your biggest win?
This week, Chris?
I think Chris says, you know how this goes, Amanda. What's your biggest struggle and what's your biggest win?
Oh, what is
You guys, while Amanda's thinking about that, that's what we cover every Tuesday morning on the coaching calls. What's your biggest struggle and what's your biggest win? So that's why we're chuckling about this.
Oh. Well, my biggest struggle is that I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Like I know that we've been doing this for a couple weeks now, but holy cow. It's like it was at a dead stop and now it's like I'm going 70 miles an hour every day and I don't stop till 10 o'clock at night. So that's a struggle. Like trying to be able to prioritize my time that I do have. The win is that I discovered that.
Yeah.
Is that I needed to figure out how to prioritize my time.
Well, you had not enough time before because you weren't feeling good, and now you have too much time, so now you're trying to figure out what to do with it. So I love that. And Chris says she's so proud of you. She loves your insights about the long-term gains versus short-term investment. And she also said, what if is so real. So we are very proud of you, Amanda. Is there anything else that you would like to share with anybody before we end tonight?
No, just how thankful I am for both of y'all for just taking that step and just sharing your knowledge and what God has given you guys and gifted you with, and sharing that, even in your doubts, you know, just remembering like you are here to help people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
You're so sweet. And I'm not going to say this on camera, but you might be one of our favorites.
Oh.
No, we really love everybody that we work with, and you know, we just appreciate you, Amanda, for showing up for yourself. And even in the beginning, when it was like, I don't know if this is even working, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep trying, and then we got it figured out, right? And now you have too much and recalibrating. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you later. And thank you, Amanda. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.